Working in jail booking, a tough job. It's not an easy job, and from the sally port to the jail, a lot of critical steps take place to help make it safer for officers once the inmates get to the jail. Booking is a very busy area, and it can turn into a dangerous area in an instant. Hi, I'm Gary York, True Prison Stories. Please subscribe if you like this video. You know, many arrestees stepping into booking are all drunk, or they're high on drugs, or they're depressed, or they're suicidal, or they have weapons on them, hidden inside body cavities, inside their underwear bands, the waistbands of their clothing. You just don't know. And when you're working in booking, it's very tough because you're relying on the arresting officer to have done a good, thorough job during the search. But once they arrive in booking, it is our job to search these people again to ensure the safety of everyone. Now, I worked in booking on spare time sometimes. I was never assigned to booking, but as all agencies, our sheriff's department needed help in many areas sometimes because of staff shortage, or somebody called in sick, or somebody was on FMLA. So I did have the opportunity to work booking, and I'm going to tell you something. I have to hand it to those folks. I never applied to work there. Many people like it. I think you have to have a special knack for doing that job. It's not an easy job, and I don't think that they always get the credit that is due to them, the people that are full-time booking deputies. So let's talk about working in booking and how important it is to do every step correctly and how many steps there are. Many of you already know what goes on in booking, and I understand that, but we have a lot of new officers out there that don't. They may be interested in working in booking one day. They may be asked to work in booking one day. We also have a lot of people that sometimes watch this channel that don't work in the corrections environment, and they're curious as to how it works. And we have those that have been arrested that have gone through the process themselves that may see this. But anyway, if you're ever asked to work in booking, give it a try. See if you can work overtime there first and see if it's for you, because there's no need for you to work in booking permanently if you don't have the patience for it and the willingness to work hard and the willingness to be diligent in your searches and processing, because your brothers and sisters at the jail are relying on you to be the first line of defense to make sure that these people being booked in are clean and free of weapons, injuries, and other things like that. So let's get going. Okay, you know, we have arresting officers that arrive at the sally port, and they bring in the arrestee, and they have to step out of their patrol vehicle, and they must lock all their weapons in the trunk of their patrol car before going into booking. Now, we have people assigned in booking, officers that are in many agencies assigned tasers, so there will be tasers available in many agencies. Some agencies may not have tasers yet inside their booking area, but that would be a certain few that would carry the taser as your agency's policy and procedure states. But the patrol officer or patrol deputy bringing in the arrestee does not bring weapons into the booking area. So that's number one. We've seen cases where firearms have been taken away from officers, and we just have too many people in the booking area to have that happen, or to take that risk. Now, once inside the booking area, the detention deputy or the deputy working in booking will direct the officer on what to do. The paperwork process will start. The arrestee will be emptied, have all their pockets emptied. They'll be searched again, pat searched. They'll take their shoes and socks off. They'll be given a pair of jail sandals, and they'll put them on. all jewelry, all rings, all tongue rings, and all earrings should be removed. Now, I have seen inmates in jails with tongue rings and an earring. Not good. We cannot have that. All jewelry must be taken out. Now, we also will then take the inmate, after all the searching and pat down and all the jewelry's been removed and everything, into an area with an icon scan machine and a body scan machine, and we will scan the inmate for hidden contraband. Contraband that would be hidden inside the body cavities, in the mouth, or whatever. But some agencies may not have the body scan machine. You know, it's a large country. Some of the smaller agencies may not have them. I would hope that by now every jail booking has a body scan machine to help find hidden contraband. There's documented cases of small caliber weapons that are hidden in bodies of people just coming in and being booked in their anal cavities, vaginal cavities. They've all been found. Drugs, weapons, cell phones, even small cell phones in body cavities. It's very important to make sure that when scanning the body during a booking procedure, that we scan the body in 4 quadrants. We take our time and we look for things, and small things like a razor blade, very hard to sometimes depict in the body scan x-ray, but we must take our time and go quadrant by quadrant searching and making sure that there's nothing inside the body cavities of these people being booked in. Now, once they finish that, they'll, in most cases, in most agencies, they'll be processed in, the paperwork's done, all searches are done, physical, pat downs, all the property's been inventoried and placed on an inventory list, number of rings, earrings, watches, medication, everything is listed on an inventory list and documented. And the amount of money, 5 $10 bills, you know, 4 $5 bills, 4 quarters, 5 nickels, and 2 pennies, right down to a T. Now, once that's documented, we're also asking these folks when they come in if they have any injuries right at the very beginning, because in some cases, arrestees have been brought in and they have an injury. They are refused at booking at that time in some cases, and the patrol officer or patrol deputy is told to take the arrestee to the hospital. Now, if we have to have the arrestee in the hospital for a certain amount of time, we'll send an officer for hospital watch. But we want to make sure that they are free and clear of any serious life-threatening injuries before booking them in. We do not want to accept them and then they pass away on our watch when we could have taken them to a hospital with the patrol car. Okay, so that's another issue we have to look at and watch very carefully. We also have to see if the person is suicidal or, you know, thinking of killing themselves. We have to ask all these questions. Are you suicidal at this time? Are you on any medication at this time? We have to document all these things. No, we haven't even started hardly yet. And look at all the things that go on in booking. This is a tough job, and you have to be very diligent in making sure every one of these areas is checked, because unfortunately it can come back to haunt you, the officer processing the arrestees in. Now, from there we'll move to another stage of booking in most agencies. Now, every agency varies a little bit in stages, how they have things set up and where they have them set up. So if some of these things aren't in the order that you're used to, please let us know at the bottom of this video. I've noticed that some agencies have tried to change things up a bit and make different stages to try to speed up the process. But I'm going to be honest with you, booking is not a fast process. It's going to be, if you're going to do all these things and do them correctly, we're not worried about speed, we're worried about quality and accuracy when checking these folks into booking, because we want them to end up at the jail with no weapons, no drugs, and safe and sound, not only for the person being booked in, but for our officers, our fellow brothers and sisters. Okay, we're going to move to another stage now where we're going to dress out the inmates. Well, they're inmates by now. They're back behind the wall now, and we're going to dress them out into the jail uniform. And all of their clothing will go into a big brown paper bag or whatever your agency uses, and their name and number will be marked on there, and this will be stapled shut and will be stored until they either bond out or go to prison or serve their time in jail or whatever the case may be. And now they're in orange or whatever colors your jail has. Now they're in their orange suits. So now they move over for their mug shots and their fingerprints. Now, just about every jail booking now has the does not have the old ink fingerprint method. Most now have the automated fingerprint system, which is faster, cleaner, and easier. And one thing about the getting away from the old ink fingerprints, which there's still some places that have that, is number one, you get away from the mess. Number two, if another agency is looking for this person that you've just started the booking process, and their fingerprints are taken by you, other agencies such as FBI, Border Patrol, Homeland Security, any other sheriff's department, any other police department, it's easier to send the prints off or to send them out to see if anybody else is looking, or to see if we get a hit on the fingerprints for possible warrants in other areas. So I just love the automated fingerprint process much better. I know that in the sheriff's office I just retired from, we have the automated fingerprinting in booking, but in the courthouse we still have the black ink, old-timey fingerprinting style. And hopefully that will get updated one day in the courthouse as well to get the automated fingerprinting system. I think it saves time and money from cleaning supplies and ink, and it's just much cleaner and much more proficient with today's technology. Now, after this is done, there's some more stages that we have to go through. There's classification. Now, some agencies have 2 or 3 booths set up in booking where they can set the inmate down that's being processed, and they can speak to classification through a screen. So the classification folks are in their office and the inmates are in booking, and they can discuss what's going on, ask all the questions they need to ask, and properly use that information to classify the inmates for the jail. Another very important step. These officers and deputies that work in booking, they have a lot of responsibility. They're not only looking out for themselves, they're looking out for the entire agency and all the officers that work at the jail as well, and the safety of the transport officers. Big, huge responsibility, and they don't get enough credit, and that's why I wanted to do this video. Now, once classification is done with their information, they can go into a holding cell, and there may be holding cells 1 through 5, and they'll be in these holding cells, and then they're going to see the nurse. Now, many agencies, like the one I just retired from, have the nurses right there on the scene. There'll be a couple of nurses at a couple of desks, and they'll say, bring me inmate so-and-so, or I need this inmate. And when you're working in book-in, one of you will be running the key, one of you will be running the cell checks, and that will be your job to bring out the inmates to go to the nurses. When the nurses are done, you put them back in the holding cell. Once these classification and medical processes are done, and they're both satisfied with the information they've received, and the nurses have cleared the inmates to go to the jail, we'll move them out of these holding cells and put them in another cell, a much larger cell. Males over here, females over here, maybe someone who's sick over here, people with crutches and wheelchairs and oxygen tanks and so forth. Everybody will be separated out. And then they will wait there, and they will be fed during feeding hours. And eventually, as I said, nothing is fast. When the sergeants, and like our booking area had 2 sergeants, when the sergeants have reviewed everything, done their job to make sure everything's correct, then we will have the jail transport come over, get into the Sally Port, and we'll begin to transport inmates to the jail. It's a long process, and there are many steps, but each step that I've gone through quickly is so important and must be done correctly. Because we've had inmates slip by through booking into the transport vehicle and later slice themselves on the wrist or attempt suicide with a razor blade that they snuck in. You know, it happens. Then the agency is going to start an investigation, and they want to see who missed the razor blade. It's a tough job. Some of these things are hidden very well. It's very hard sometimes to find everything. And in those cases, I just hope the agency does not make a scapegoat of the officer. Understand where you came from. Understand that if you were working in their shoes, would you have seen, could you have missed this small little item? I mean, we do the best we can, but we're humans. We are using the body scan machine to help us and to enable us to advance our search, and can still miss something. You know, I wouldn't expect you to miss a small caliber weapon in a body cavity, or a bag of marijuana or balloons in a body cavity, but there are some items that are so small, needles. Yes, they'll put these things in their body cavities. We all know that work in corrections. You know, and then you're going to have some of the inmates that will not go to the jail. They will bond out. They'll get a bondsman, and they'll bond out before they get to the jail. Some don't bond out until they're at the jail. We call that ATW, all the way. Some agencies have different verbiage that they use, but ATW means all the way out, or bonded out is another. We have several different acronyms that we use and throughout the jails in our country. So whatever your acronyms are, learn them and know them. We have the codes that classification gives all the inmates when they come in, and whether they're escape risks or suicide risk or risk of injuring themselves. You know, there's all kinds of codes that you're going to use in booking to label these folks before they go to the jail, so that the jail is aware of what they are dealing with. Very important step, booking, very important. Many people like to say that you want your best deputies in booking, but you know, we really want our best deputies everywhere. We want all our deputies to be alert. We want all our deputies to be diligent. It's just a tough job all the way around. Any job in the jail, within the sheriff's department, is dangerous and a tough job. And it takes special people to work in these specialty areas also. So if you think it's for you, please get involved and check in. Now, a little bit more about the dangers in booking. As I said, when you're dealing with these inmates that are coming off the street drunken or high on drugs or both, you're going to have a lot of critical incidents occur in booking. And when people should not be surprised when they have to use force in booking. Officers using force in booking, it should not be held against them. If somebody says, you know, Officer Jones has just used 10 uses of force in the last 60 days, that's a little excessive, isn't it? Well, no. Folks, this is booking. You know, come on. These officers are dealing with people fresh off the street when they're at their worst. They're ready to fight. They're ready to kick. They're ready to bite. They're ready to scream. They're ready to yell. They're ready to attempt suicide. A lot of these folks are. It's a dangerous, dangerous place. It takes a few days for some of these people to come down off their high. So let's make sure that we take care of our booking officers, that we investigate any incidents that need to be investigated in booking with fair, good investigations, impartial investigations, and make sure that we do not punish an officer who is trying to save their own self or another officer, or protect other inmates from these violent people being booked into our jails. I think you understand what I'm getting at in this. We have to understand the situation, and if you're in an investigative position or an administrative position, don't forget where you came from. Remember what these folks in booking are doing and what a tough job it is, and a thankless job. And when you go to booking and take an inmate to booking, like I did many times from court to booking when somebody's sentenced in the courtroom, I worked at the jail as well, and I also worked at the courthouse, and I worked a few times in booking. When you see someone that's not cheerful and chirpy and happy, but they're doing their job in booking, don't say, boy, what a grouchy bunch of people they are over in booking. I'm guilty of that. I did that one time before I ever worked in booking, folks. I'm going to just say it the way it is. I said to somebody, man, those folks in booking, a couple of them are grouchy. Well, then I was given the opportunity to work mandatory time in booking. And I see myself as cheerful all the time. I wasn't grouchy, but I could see how, if I had to work permanently in booking, that it's stressful, folks. It's a stressful job. Boy, I learned right then, never judge anybody until you walk in their shoes. And I know that, and I knew that before I went, but we sometimes forget, and we say things we shouldn't. Guilty. And then I went in there and worked in booking, and I said, whoa, I will never take another inmate to booking, and if the officer doesn't want to talk to me, or if the officer seems grumpy, I'm just going to understand why, and we're going to do our process, Everybody has a different way of handling the job. As long as we're doing our job, who cares if you're smiling or not smiling? Okay? Just some things I wanted to throw out there. Thank you for watching. Remember, you guys in booking, wish them a Merry Christmas and thank them for what they do. It's tough, folks. It's a tough job. Thanks a lot. Gary York, True Prison Stories.